Hello, and welcome to Teaching Basics 101. My name is Jonathan Farrell, and I am an EdCat. I currently serve as the principal at Mill Creek Elementary in the Shawnee Mission School District. I was a teacher for 13 years, and I'm a proud member of the 2017 Kansas Teacher of the Year team. Today, I'm thrilled to talk with you about classroom leadership and management. This is a tricky area for those new to education, and I'm eager to share with you what I've learned from my 15 years in schools. The way we approach this challenge makes all the difference in the world when it comes to student success. Let's get started. What matters most in leading and managing a classroom? Relationships, relationships, relationships. As a leader of the classroom, you will set the tone for what matters. In education, we have the honor of being in the people business, and setting the tone that people matter above all else is the first job you will do with your class. Building these positive relationships will set you up to be able to make a difference in the lives of your students. Now, it's easy to like kids who are easy to like, but it's going to be more than that when you enter the classroom. It's our role as teachers to see the inherent value of each student and believe that all students can and will achieve at high levels in our classrooms. Our students are good at spotting a fake. It's going to be real clear to your students if you like them or not. So be authentic. Take time to consistently learn about your students as individuals and learners. Ask them questions, be genuine, smile. Tell them how much you enjoy being with them. This point can't be overstated. You're going to be together for a year as a classroom family. Make it count. Building respect and rapport with your students lays a foundation for a classroom that is ready to learn. One tip to help with this is to say our classroom instead of my classroom. This might seem trivial, but our words matter, and saying my classroom implies that the students are visiting a place that doesn't belong to them, and it actively works against building the ownership of their learning. But saying our classroom rightfully implies that it's our shared space, that this classroom belongs to all of us, and that the way we act here as a classroom community matters. As the leader of the classroom, you're going to seek to build a collaborative partnership with your students. Classroom management begins with proactively preparing for situations that are going to come up throughout the year. While anyone who works with kids knows their unpredictable nature, you can put in work before the kids walk into your classroom to set them up for success. Then you'll be ready for when mistakes, failures, and mess-ups inevitably occur, and you'll know how to respond. These mistakes will come from the students, of course, and more on that later, but they'll also come from us as teachers. And when you make a mistake, because I promise you will, being open and honest is the best way to handle it. Saying I'm sorry and working to make it right and improve is the heart of the issue here. It builds credibility with your classroom and models the behavior we want to have from our students. When students see adults make mistakes and then admit the mistakes and take steps to repairing the situation, you're modeling humility and a growth mindset that will serve your students well in the future. Before we go further, a quick note about student handbooks. Your district or school likely already has created a student handbook with high-level guidelines and procedures. As you create your own classroom management plan, be sure to be aware of these guidelines and use them as a starting point for creating your own classroom management plan. Talk with your mentor, teacher, and principal to get the details on the school-wide policies and discipline procedures. These will vary from district to district, but it's essential that you seek this information out so that you're ready when your students arrive in August. Next, as you begin to plan for leading your classroom, it's essential to put student ownership and building a partnership with your students at the forefront. As a sixth grade teacher, my purpose in the classroom was to empower students to take ownership of their learning. Student voice and choice are key to building this ownership. And you can begin to do this by developing rules and classroom norms together as a class. Each year, I would start the year with my sixth graders by asking these questions. What's the purpose of our time together? And what rules could we implement to help us stay on track? And then how should we respond when our rules are broken? So with question number 1, the answer to the question is they're here to learn. We would work together through the question as a group and build common understanding of the purpose in our classroom. With question number 2, what rules could we implement? Really empowering students to think through this as a question is important. While they'll often come up with similar answers like be kind, listen to each other, or stay safe, it's important to include their voice and their ideas in how you answer this question as a class. If your school has a positive behavior system, go ahead and use that and adjust it for the context of your classroom. For example, at Lenexa Hills, we were the Lions, and our positive behavior acronym was ROAR, and it stood for respectful, open-minded, always kind, and responsible. And you can use a structure like that with the students in your classroom. and just talk through what does it look like in our classroom to be respectful? What does it sound like in our classroom to be respectful? Question number 3 says, how should we respond when our rules are broken? And we'll return to this in a bit, but having your students have a voice in how this question is answered is key to building commitment from all. During the first week of school, I would also share my What Makes a Good Teacher assignment. This was a simple writing assignment that asked students questions about how I could be the best teacher for them that year. This feedback was instructive for me as their teacher, but it also allowed them to have a voice in how we could best manage and set up our class so that each student could be successful. Each year, I would return to these essays to help me better understand how to meet their needs. The template for this assignment will be linked in the resources for this video.
Hi everyone, Tom Vance here from Kansas State University. I have a question. Are you ready to change careers and transform lives? Or perhaps you've looked into becoming a teacher only to find significant obstacles of time, money, and inconvenience. The Master of Arts in Teaching program is a powerful, fully accredited online program that is ranked in the top 20 by U.S. News & World Report. The fully online MAT program not only earns you a teaching license in your home state, but also a master's degree at the same time, all from your home and in just 12 months. We invite you to join hundreds of professionals from around the globe who have chosen K-State's MAT. Please check out more information about our award-winning program, including our new residency programs, by visiting the website below. Thank you.
Next up is classroom organization. For the physical space in the classroom, it will work with what you have available, and your options will likely change over the years. Be sure to make the school custodian and secretary some of your best friends. These two hold the keys to getting your classroom furniture that you need. Think through your resources you have available, starting with the tables or desks. Traffic flow is going to be essential, so anticipate potential congestion problems or pinch points when all of your students are moving around the classroom. In elementary school classrooms, think through where your students will line up and how they'll access communal resources. As you're thinking through the physical space, you can begin to think through whether seating in your classroom will be assigned or flexible in nature. While both systems have their merits, the key is to developing a system that works well for your teaching style and is appropriate for your students. Also, you'll need to think through where the various types of instruction will take place in the classroom. Where will your whole group instruction happen? In elementary school, where's the carpet space going to be? Where will your students work in groups and centers in your classroom? Classroom decorations. I was never much of a decorator, but the key is to building a warm, welcoming environment. This might look like a beautiful Pinterest room, or it might look like my classroom here. The key is once the students arrive, give them opportunities to build ownership of the classroom through what's displayed. As quickly as possible, get their pictures, their faces up on the walls or bulletin boards so they can see themselves in the room. Also reserve special places in the room for them to showcase their best work and the art that they create. Your students will also likely bring a mountain of supplies to your class. Begin now creating a plan for how you'll organize those supplies. As a new teacher, this took me a while to iron out, so create a plan for day one and then don't be afraid to adjust it as needed. Finally, we get to the nuts and the bolts of managing the classroom with routines and procedures. Start this process by thinking through the day from your students' point of view, from when they arrive in your hallway to when they're dismissed for the day, and create a plan for what you expect them to do and rehearse these procedures together. This might feel forced, but it's actually essential to get these procedures automatic early in the year so the focus can be on learning throughout the year. In my classes, we use the wording, in our class, we do this, to turn in an assignment. And then I would actually model where and how to submit that assignment. Or, in our class, we do this when we walk into the classroom. And then I would get up and I would model how to calmly enter the classroom and what to do when I get to my table or desk. Take time to rehearse these key procedures, such as arrival, being sure you greet your students at the door for a quick check-in, or what students will do when they first enter the classroom, have them practice putting away their coat and backpack and getting supplies ready for the day. And then go ahead and prepare for the inevitable question of, what are we doing today? Be sure your schedule and plan for the day are posted and written in easy to understand language. Be sure to work on procedures for how to turn in assignments and homework, how to ask to leave the classroom, how to line up in elementary school classrooms, and then go through all the transitions of your day. So that your transitions between subjects and classes and going to specials or electives or lunch, and practice them until they become automatic. Creating a smooth, well-run classroom takes weeks to fine-tune, and don't hesitate to make adjustments if you're finding a particular procedure isn't working for your class. As the year unfolds, take time to circle back and review these procedures as a team. Especially after breaks, take time, like Thanksgiving break or winter break, with students. They'll need a refresher on how your classroom operates. Now, when classroom rules, procedures aren't followed, how are you going to respond? This is going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you're not good at teaching. It just means that you're teaching humans who are still learning. But how we respond here matters. So have a plan before it happens on how you're going to respond. Maintain a calm demeanor, take a deep breath, and remember it's not personal, even if it feels like it. And often a quick, respectful redirection or a teacher look can fix minor issues. But if it persists, have a private and respectful conversation when time allows with the student. Saying something along the lines of, "We don't have time to talk about this right now, John, but at lunch, let's sit down and talk through what's happening. You're important, and it's important to our class that we get this on track." In that conversation, focusing on reviewing the expectation that wasn't followed and how this can be fixed. Be sure to reference the classroom rules and norms that you created together as a class. In these conversations, I use the line often, "I've never met a perfect student, and I don't expect you to be perfect, but I do expect you to get better each day. So how can we learn from this and do better next time?" Building that partnership with the student is key. Let them know that you are on their team, that you like them, that you're here to support them, and that together, you'll get this corrected. A quick note here about the power of positive comments. Build up capital with students and families by sharing positive notes as quickly as possible. When you see someone following expectations or being kind, point that out to everybody. Let the whole class know the great things that are happening in your room. This quickly contributes to building a positive culture. Even taking the time to make a quick phone call home or writing a positive office referral will go a long ways to letting the families of your students know that you value their child and you see the good in them. Then later, when the hard times arise, because they likely will, they'll know that you're on their team as you work together to correct the issues that come up. If problems with a specific student continue, you feel free to escalate it to the next level. So involve your grade level team, seek out ideas from them and suggestions from experienced teachers. Invite the parents of the student into the classroom for a meeting and involve administrative support for additional resources. Now, a recap of classroom leadership and management. What matters most in classroom leadership? Building positive relationships with your students. This is fundamental. Creating a classroom climate that's positive, caring, and supportive will allow your students to take risks and learn together. You can do this by promoting student ownership. Build a partnership between yourself and your students, working side by side together toward the same goals. In management, focus on that cycle of planning ahead for how you'll respond to students, being reflective about how things are progressing in your class, and then making adjustments as needed. Remember that routines and procedures must be taught, practiced, and reviewed often to create an efficient, well-run classroom. You can do this. Your students need you, your school needs you, and our communities need you. Thank you for joining the best profession in the world, and have a wonderful year with your students.